In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good. These are some of the most famous words in the English language and some of the most influential. Even those who are not Christians, even people who don't even go to church, know these words and wonder about their truth and are moved by their imagery. They capture the very essence of God's relationship with creation, the moment from chaos to order, from nothing to something, pulling back the blanket of darkness by the breath of God's Holy Spirit. The creation story is about change, the transformation of existence, the creative force of God present in the universe. But creation is not a clean, simple process. It begins in chaos. The Hebrew language in this passage is even more graphic than the English. Let me read it to you. Not in Hebrew. In the beginning, the earth was chaotic. Nothingness was everywhere. There was only the blackest darkness imaginable, the darkness of space where even the concept of being did not exist. Such a state was the total opposite of reality as we know it. And into this nothingness comes the Spirit of God and God's command, light, roaring across the chaos, splitting the darkness like an axe splits wood, crashing, flashing, bringing to be where there was not. And God saw that the light was good. From the very beginning of this story, we're told that God views creation as good, and the creative process as good. From chaos to goodness, such is the power of the path of creation. And we humans are on this path from chaos to creation to goodness. Think about it. Our lives begin in chaos. What could be more chaotic than childbirth? I remember, is it labor? Is it false labor? Time to go to the hospital? Chaos. And once at the hospital, okay, how long? What next? And then time and space are lost for a while. Once my younger son, Stephen, asked me, "What time was I born?" And I told him I didn't remember. I was kind of busy at the time. And the intense moments, the labor and the baby is here. Is he okay? Am I okay? Creation. Some psychologists have speculated that if babies remembered their birth, they'd be traumatized for life. Modern childbirth strives to take care of the entire process, to make it gentler. But creation is struggle and shock, and also wonder and joy and mystery and awe. It is good. Parents look at what has been born and are in awe and wonder, and we are attached for life. But this is also true of all creation, even the things that you create. We create things every day. During this time when folks are at home, they've been doing a lot for a longer time. People are baking and they're cooking and making YouTube videos and crafting and sewing. Creation is baking a pie or making a pencil sketch or writing an essay or making a flower arrangement or planting a garden. We can be fiercely protective of what we create, which is why we're sensitive to criticism. It's difficult to separate the critical comment about the things we have created from touching our heart and our soul, because we all feel like we put a part of ourselves into that creation. In our world, we brought order out of chaos. We've assembled that pie. We've designed that sketch. We've planted that garden. We've sewn that mask. Just like God has put a part of God's self into creation. But what happens when chaos threatens creation? What happens when children, into which a part of us has been grafted, begin to take actions and make choices that are no longer creative? When they stop coloring the pictures and playing with the puppy and begin actions of chaos and maybe even destruction? What happens when the job into which we poured our heart is lost? What happens when COVID-19 disrupts our society, our very homes? What happens when someone we love becomes ill? What happens as we face the long slide downhill toward our own death? Chaos. And even in the more mundane times of life, not so tragic but oh so familiar, when the washer breaks and the laundry piles up and the back door is hanging off the hinges and the grass needs to be cut and we discover that we've run out of milk. And then take that scene and magnify it by a system where you are expected to fail, where the hue of your skin, your eyes, and your hair raises suspicions when you go into a store or apply for a job or a loan, where your creative juice is squeezed dry through a daily grind of poverty. Chaos. Our creative actions are constantly being tried and tested as we just live each day, doing what we must. For even though God called the creation good, it is no longer in the state in which it was created. The creation is broken, and the forces of uncreation and chaos sweep through our existence and our experience. Goodness sometimes seems to be in short supply. So what do we do to navigate the waters between chaos and creation and goodness? Look at Paul's letter to the Corinthians, and I'm going to back up one verse from today's reading. He says, "This is why I write these things when I am absent, that when I come I may not have to be harsh in my use of authority. The authority of the Lord gave me for building you up, not for tearing you down. Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice, strive for full restoration, encourage one another, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you." Paul recognizes the force of chaos and gives us a suggestion for the remedy, a remedy that is demonstrated in the words of Jesus from our gospel today. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee. Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." Jesus says, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Think about this for a moment. Where do you hold authority? Do you pay the bills in your family? Do you supervise others? Maybe you're a parent. Maybe you are an authority in your work. We all exercise authority in our lives in one way or another. Where do we get authority? Most of the time, we earn it by learning to do a task well, or authority is given to us by a larger entity. The church gives me authority to be a priest. The government, the discipline we practice, law, medicine, business, parenthood. There is nothing worse than authority which is misused. We've seen this in recent events in so many ways, too many to cover in one sermon. And perhaps even in our own lives, we've experienced dysfunctional or abusive relationships of unequal power, where misused authority of others has hurt us. Our blessing is that Jesus' authority will never hurt us. The authority of Jesus is the same authority that created the universe, the same authority that gave commandments to love God and to love the neighbor, the same authority that willingly gave up life for a cross, and the same authority that now risen from the dead sends out disciples to all the corners of the world to preach and baptize and teach. The authority of Jesus overcomes the sin and brokenness of the world and leads us through the adversaries of this present life. I believe it's simply impossible to live an authentic Christian life without the authority of Jesus. If the Christian life were just about morals, were just about being good, we would soon become discouraged, not only by our own failures, but by the moral decay that we see around us. If the Christian life was only about the repetition of Sunday ritual without the service of others that is the mark of our discipleship, we would be exhausted by the task. Jesus assures us, "I am with you always, even to the close of the age." Just as God was present in the universe before it ever came into being, just as the Spirit who moved across the waters of creation is now moving in the lives of the believers, so Jesus is present in every day and every age. Jesus leads us out of chaos, into creation, and toward goodness. Now, I can't end this sermon without mentioning Trinity Church Martinsburg, for this is our special feast day. Hopefully, a year from now, Trinity will celebrate an historic mile marker, remembering all the way back to the founding of this parish and the establishment of this congregation. And even though I've only been with you a short time, I know that this will also be a celebration looking toward the future. For as we have learned in the past few months, the church is more than a building, and the message of the gospel can be shared in new and wonderful ways through technology and through a caring phone call. May we continue to exercise our creative gifts and call upon the authority of Jesus Christ, that through this season of chaos, our church may grow in creativity and in goodness and in love. Amen.